Hey everyone, so for today's video, I'm gonna be doing another sort of tier list almost, but today's is gonna be a little different. Rather than necessarily a top, 5 or 10, in this video's case, a top 5, it's gonna be more so about units that you should be saving for. So basically units that are out on the JP side of the game, but not in global, and who I think you should be saving for. And for anyone wondering, yes, I am a little sick. If you're wondering why my voice sounds so weird, the last couple of days, yeah, they just haven't really been the best. But don't worry, I'm not dying. It's probably just a cold or something. But yeah, let's hop into it though. Actually, before I hop into it, this one I'm about to mention is going to be an honorable mention. So it's not number 5, but more so an honorable mention because I wanted to include her, but I didn't really want to make it top 6, you know what I mean? But yeah, so that unit is going to be Phantom Saintis Platina. And so it's not out in global, obviously, as none of these units are going to be, but I think she has a lot going on with her kit that just makes her probably the most solid breaker just in general. So going over her, entire kit real quick, some good slots. She's a light god. Her skill gives her some arts, or 200 if used during break, which is amazing, obviously, because this is going to reset when you go and break anyways. And then her arts is going to give her 100% attack as well, or actually all allies, and then physical equip CT speed by 30%. And the reason this is so good is because of her passive. So while some DPS increase their damage, times their attack, whatever, she actually increases her break power. So that's actually kind of insane. Let's actually do the calculations real quick. So let's just say she has 3,500 plus 667. That's what, 40, let's just say 4,200 plus a 6-star or 5-star true weapon you're probably going to have on her is going to be 4,700. This will be around 48. And then maybe put an attack up crest. So let's say 5,500 attack. You use her arts, which is going to double it to 11,000. And then you're going to do 2% times her own attack. So if we were to actually do that, let's try to figure out how. Times 11, 2, 3, divided by 100. So she's getting 220% break power up if you use her arts, of course. Without it, it would be 110%, which is obviously, really great. You can't go wrong with that, especially considering it's going to be doubling just all of her break stats, which is amazing. But as if that wasn't enough, on her true arts, she actually lowers break resist and physical resist by 40%, which is also stackable. Obviously, I mean, you can spam this, but in terms of her breaking, you're probably going to want to use her super arts just because of that nasty 15,000 damage or break modifier. That's going to break just insane amounts. You can maybe pop this once or twice if you want that, those stacks, but this should be more than enough break resistance down. So the probably general plan is pop her true arts, pop her arts, and then as you're getting to her super arts, you also want to use her true weapon simply because of that 6,000 break, and it'll get that 220% break power buff as well as that break resist buff. And then once you break, if you have her super art active, everyone's getting crit and damage against enemies and break, which is really great. She also has her passive to have bosses break bars, at least giant bosses, which is okay. I mean, it's pretty good, I guess. I can't really say anything about it. The freeze and paralysis resist is also really good. Her true weapon gives her 40% attack and 1 arts a second, as well as this effect, which we don't really care about since she's a breaker. You're more so going to be looking at this because by increasing her attack with her passive that scales her break power to her attack, that's just going to give her even more break power, which, I mean, obviously is amazing. So you're going to want to pick her true weapon up. I mean, not that it's necessarily needed per se, since you could use either equips that raise her attack, break power, or equips with just really high break power like Platina, or at least regular Platina's true weapon that has a 9,000 break stat. But just in general, she's a great breaker, probably the strongest, most consistent, just, breaker. She's just going to be breaking so much. And the reason I have her as an honorable mention or number 6 is simply the fact that while, yes, she does lower physical resist as well as providing crit and damage for the team during break and some equip CT, she's not necessarily too great just in general. And I mean versatilely, or is that a word? I don't know, whatever. But you get what I'm trying to say. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this list is going to be units that you save up for in terms of almost pitying. Not all of these are going to be pitied, but they're definitely going to be great to use your resources on because they can be used in a wide, array. I'm not going to tell you to save for a DPS that's good on like one team. That doesn't really make sense. But I think her breaking is just so good in general that she's definitely at least worth a thought, or at least Alkstones if her 10k comes to global. But yeah, that's why I place her at number 6. Moving on though, coming in at number 5 is going to be Accelerator. He's from the one crossover, I can't remember the name, but we haven't actually gotten it in global yet. So that's why I'm saying you should save up for him. But he's a Dark Human for starters. Pretty okay slots, nothing to, kind of gush over. That's a really interesting skill. 10,000 damage. That's a lot of damage on a skill, I'm not gonna lie. His arts gives allies 100% super arts damage, or dark allies 150% on their next super art. That's pretty solid. This is kind of the reason, though, I'm gonna be getting into it, why you want him, right? So he's lowering break resist as well as providing arts gauge, which this also happens to be type F. He is a crossover unit, and that's not very often that you'll see something like this on a crossover unit. I mean, we do see a lot of Fs or type Fs per crossover, so that's probably a lie. But just in the sense that he's type F, lowering break resist, giving 125 arts to the team, that's just a lot of great support, especially if there's a stage that you need to be breaking on. But his super arts as well, this is just really great. It does have an 8,000 break modifier, not the craziest that you'd want to see for a breaker, but here is why. If it's used when a boss is not broken, sorry, I can't read apparently, he gets up to 300% break power. And then if it's used while they're broken, it doubles the damage modifier. So this becomes 300,000, which is insane, obviously. I mean, this 300% break power buff is actually insane. Because the way damage or break buffs in this game works is that a 100%, buff will double your amount. So this means this is a ×4 modifier. Meaning this, instead of being 8,000, is actually going to be 32,000 break, which, if you don't know, is just actually insane. That's a pretty strong break power, attack in a single thing. I mean, I was talking about Platina, the 6-star, before, and she obviously has really high break power, especially after all her buffs. But the fact he's doing this much break while providing arts gen and lowering break resist is why I kind of place him over her, simply because of that support. He's giving that damage, Not the best slots, but it's really whatever. But then also his passives. When the boss is broken, allies get 300% damage and 5 arts a second. And this is every time, not just once. That's insane. 150 arts, 300% damage, just so you can break a nuke instantly. He's going to pop his super art. That's going to be 300k. He's getting 300% damage, plus all the buffing from his other team, you know. He's getting 3 arts a second, 50% damage to humans. Just really great. Really, the only gripe I really have about him is that he doesn't have a 5-star support. He does have a support slot on LB7, but I mean, that's not really worth it. His true weapon, this is really great. 50% break power, as well as 100 arts at the start. This is really whatever, considering he's a breaker. 6,000 break is pretty good for a true weapon. But that true weapon is going to be really great because in his kit, he doesn't actually have any break power buffing himself, which is surprising considering he's trying to focus on break. But it's really funny as well because he could technically stack with Chloe from Fate. I'm not saying you want to run this team because the break is going to be overkill, but you could run it. I mean, look at this. So arts gauge stacks because it's type E and this is type F. But then everybody gets 70% break power, but then he lowers break resist. She gives arts instantly on true art, as well as increasing everybody's damage by 50%. His will be 300, so that's a 350%. And then, I mean, that's kind of where it ends, and this is going to be so much break. You really only want to use this on stages that need to constantly be broken, but even then, this feels overkill. I mean, he's probably just going to be almost your sole, you know, breaker on a team that needs it, considering not a lot of content needs break that, you know, competent. But just in general, he's really great for breaking, providing damage to the team, arts gen, doing damage himself, which is really great. And now if you have his true weapon, he's getting that 50%, which is going to make this 12,000. And then when he uses his super arts, which is a ×4, that's a 48,000 break power modifier on his super art, which is basically going to be 50k or well over that if you have a crest on him, or even use equips that'll buff that. But yeah, he's just a great general supporter, arch gen, breaker, and we saw how great Chloe was while she reigned, so we can just imagine how well he's gonna do. But anyways, moving on to number 4. Surprisingly, number 4 is actually going to go to Star Swordsman Rosetta. And I'm not sure if a lot of people know about this, considering she's in JP right now. And I don't know if you guys keep up with kind of the or JP side and global. But I believe, I want to say she's a story character. So we're not going to get her at least until her story, you know, comes to global. So there's definitely time to save. But I just think she's a great supporter. I'll get into why, though. First of all, Water Demon. I mean, demons have a bunch of help. Water has a bunch of help. So that's really great. Amazing slots, especially LB7. That's really great. Not that I recommend it personally, but you get the idea. Skill is really whatever. Her arts is really good in Magia Unlimited. That's a 140% magic resist debuff, which on 100 arts is really great. Moving on to her true arts, though, she gives everyone 100 arts. I mean, water units get an extra 40, which, I mean, is good. And that's if you run her with water units, which is obviously very doable, especially in today's day and age. But, like, if you're going to run her with other units, at least magic units, this won't matter as much, although it's definitely really nice if you have a water team with her. But then her super arts, and by the way, real quick, before I mention that, it is type B, which honestly, it's funny, because these days, there's not as many type B arch gen coming out. And back then, it used to be all type B. You know, every new unit was almost type B. So it's funny to see how rare it's becoming. We get so many crossover units that, I mean, I feel like the crossover type E Archgen is going to be just as polluted as type, B. But whatever. Let me stop yapping. Her super arts, 170,000 water damage magic, and every time it's used, allies get 100% magic damage, max 300%. That's really great. Because first of all, it's an infinite buff. You just always get it. You pop this 3 times. Now everyone has an infinite 300% damage, buff, at least magic damage. So you do want to run her with magic DPS. And it's really great that it's just magic. And it's not like it's more specific. So you can run her with any magic DPS. Doesn't even need to be water. I mean, preferably you'd want water, considering she gives that extra arts to water units. But you don't need them to be water. Because, she's giving that magic buff. She's giving magic resist down. There's just so much she's giving. And then also on her passive, she gets 150 arts when she enters Magia Drive Unlimited, as well, as entering it when she's above 85% HP. So you do need to make sure you watch her HP before she enters. She gets 7 arts a second just in regular Magia Drive, as well as Magia Unlimited, but just if it's only Magia, that's the only buff you're getting. And if you fall below 30%, you leave it, whatever. For her Unlimited, though, she gets, as well as this, she gets 100% crit damage and crit rate. But the downside is that it's now 60% or below, which could definitely suck. The one good thing about this, though, is that there is no time limit, at least from what I see. Normally, Magia Unlimited would have had a time limit, but this doesn't seem to. I guess that's why they had to make it a little harsher, because this could certainly suck. But I think it's kind of worth it, especially if you're trying to make her in particular a DPS. I can't say how well that's necessarily going to go, but I can definitely see it happening. She gets the 300% buff. She's lowering magic resist. I mean, a sizable super art, and also 7 arts a second. That's really good. And then she increases demon ally stats by 30%. That's pretty solid. Her true weapon gives her 150 arts at the start of the quest, and then 50% crit damage or 100% crit damage for a water unit, which is really great, especially if you're not even running it on her, because that's just a 100% damage buff for literally any water unit. So I definitely picked that up. For her, I mean, yeah, sure, 150 arts will give her a good amount of arts, probably to pop this first, I want to say. I don't know. Do you pop her Magia Unlimited? I don't know. Yeah. So you get to Magia Unlimited real quick. You pop that, and then it'll give her 150 arts. So then you'd only be 50 away from getting her true arts. Yeah, that's the play. But yeah, the reason I place her here, though, is because of the support she's kind of giving, right? You can run her on a water team, a magic DPS team, a water magic team, a demon team because of these demon stats, and generally there's going to be some overlap between her kit and other demons, especially if you run her with magic DPS, such as like Demon Lord Rimuru or something like that. But she just provides a lot. Great slots, Arts Gen, extra Arts Gen for other water units, an infinite magic damage buff. And she's just solid in general. She's not like game shaking, but I can really see her kind of, helping out a lot. Let's see what units you could potentially run her with. I did mention any magic TPS. So literally anybody works. I'm trying to see. I mean, Demon Lord Rimuru you can't go wrong with, right? He's just kind of the staple, especially Dark Demon. For Light, there's kind of a lot. She's okay. She's not even out in Global, actually. Yeah, let me skip over light, because there's really no demons as well. For mono water, Fern, definitely. And by the way, she's actually looking really great ever since she came out. I'm low-key wanting her, I'm not gonna lie. Hopefully my summons clutch up when I do them, so that if I do happen to get free reign early, I'll just pity out for Fern, just because I like her character. I'll just have those for the time being. Yeah. Yep. So literally him, because he's just like, you know what I mean? He's getting super crit, increasing his own damage, allies damage actually, giving arts, damage resist, a bunch of stuff, but mostly because it works so well with her magic damage buffing and her magic resist debuffing. So once you pop this 3 times, you can just alternate these two, because this is going to be infinite. And you're really not going to probably use her as a DPS anyways, so you wouldn't even care about this. At least getting into, you know, Magia Unlimited. If anything, it's a debuff to her if you don't want her to run as a DPS. You want her to actually be low health or below 85% HP, so that when you activate it, it actually takes her till 30% HP to lose Magia Drive. That way, if your team kind of takes a big hit, you're not having to then use her super art again, especially when she's not going to be your DPS, so you'd just be wasting 300 arts. But that's if she's just going to be solely a support and buffing, you know, him, especially her. You know what I mean? This True Arts has done so much damage. I've seen a lot of people using her, and I'm pretty sure they're reaching like, what, 6 billion, I want to say, on the damage quest. I mean, I'm guessing they're probably never using this, because she gives herself crit and super crit rate, and she's just doing so much for herself. And with all this buffing, 300%, this is going to be infinite. You don't have to keep refreshing this, but then you're going to have this as well. So it's literally just the current water Rosetta we have. Sorry, voice crack. It's the current Rosetta that we have. If they want to show it to me, that would be really great. There we are. It's literally what we have here, and I've actually seen people use her. But here's the thing. This is stackable, a stackable 90% debuff per. You know what I mean? So they're using her with Fern just for that arch gen and that nice debuff. But she doesn't have a 300% magic damage buff. So there's that. Yeah, you'd obviously want to run the newer one. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine how much more damage Fern would do once she comes out in global. But yeah, I'm not going to go super crazy because it's already a long time through the video and I'm not even on number 3. But yeah, moving on to number 3 though, somewhat similar to our last unit, it's going to be Summer Rosetta. I don't know how to feel about this art. I'm not going to lie. I think this low-key looks better. This is like, just like, I don't know, Gunnar bait. Like the, you know, Summer Iris. But anyways, she's a dark demon. Pretty okay slots. This is great for mono dark simply for the fact that it's going to be able to work with using the dark relics. And if you're running her on mono demon dark, you want to be using those relics. You know what I mean? Those relics are going to give you damage, stats up, all this stuff, as well as the fact that the heal equip on the team is going to be basically your sole healing. I mean, not really. Demon Lord Vox will be healing the team with his stats up buff. But in terms of this and Demon Lord Vox, let me actually check for you guys real quick. I just connected the iPad because it's about to die. In case you guys didn't know, quick little lore from me, I guess. I actually record my videos on my iPad and then send it to my computer because I don't have an actual mic. So it's either you're getting the Apple EarPod audio or you're getting my tablet. And I personally like my tablet more because The audio on it feels okay. I don't know how it is. I mean, let me know down below if it's okay or if it's not as good as I think. But yeah. What was I saying? Oh, Demon Lord Vox. Where are you? There you are. Okay, so he actually does have that heal slot as well. I won't go super crazy into him real quick. But yeah, these heal slots are great, surprisingly enough. Maybe no, the 6th star doesn't really matter. Anyways, she gets 20 arts on skill, 40 if above 80%. It's, I mean, good, whatever. Arts up, or her arts increases allies' stats. You're probably never going to use this considering Demon Lord Vox does that on his super art. And it probably doesn't stack. Does it stack? Because it says demon allies, but this is all allies. I'm not sure if... I mean, those are unique, you know? This is tied to demons. This is a general, but I'm not sure if those necessarily stack. They should, since they're different, but if they do, actually, I mean, not horrible if you want to try to heal. But this is why, getting into, you know, kind of why you want her. She's going to be giving 100 arts to the team that is type F, as well as lowering magic resist by 90%. This is really great. You know, it's providing the arts to make your team do stuff. It's debuffing an insane amount, 90%. And it's just good, you know what I mean? It's type F, so it'll stack with basically everyone. But yeah, moving on to her super arts, though. This is also really great. She's giving 150% damage to dark allies and then 150% to demons. What does this mean? She probably wants to be ran with dark demons. Why is that? Because then they get a 300% damage buff. But as if that wasn't enough, you remember how I was mentioning the heal equip before? So when she doesn't have a status element, allies equip CT speed on their heal equip is 30% lowered, and the heal amount is actually increased. So I do really want to try to find this equip, because, I mean, it's really great, but, like, I don't know the name of it, and I'm really not trying to open the game right now. So you guys get to go on a little trip with me while I find this 5-star heal. You think it would be Relic? I don't know why I'm asking you. You're just watching this video. Bro, I do not get paid enough for this. These are physical. I mean, I don't imagine they'd start with heals. Yeah. Well, these are 6 stars. Yo, where are these? Am I geeking, bro? Oh, they're right there. Okay. We're getting close-ish, I want to say. That's the Earth Relic. That's the Light Relic. Someone definitely sees it. Oh my god. I'm actually dumb. It was right in the middle. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is the equip, okay? 80-second CT. Kind of high, kind of whatever. 4% heal for 40 seconds. And here's the thing. If you're running 2 of these, you run one on Demon Lord Vox and one on Rosetta, you have this basically forever. But as if it wasn't enough, when you have these equipped, allies are getting 70% damage. Sorry, let me get a little bit of water. My voice is low-key raspy. As well as break power up, which is really great in terms of, you know, stages that need to be broken. But it's just a really strong heal. And with that 30%, I want to say it was 30%, yeah, heal amount up buff. Then that is going to be 4 times what, 1.3, whatever that is, like 5 or something. So pretty strong buff. It comes back faster, as well as I believe 4 relics will give a 20% equip CT speed buff. So then it's just even faster, probably like 60 seconds or something crazy. So this is really great. I mean, it might not look it, but it definitely is, especially on Mono Demon Dark. her damage increasing by 2% times own attack is okay. I mean, you can increase her stats. Her stats is going to be pretty increased if you run her with Demon Lord Vox, considering he's increasing everyone's stats by 60%. Oops, don't pause that because those are spoilers and I don't feel like going back through to edit that. Paralyze resist, why? Whatever. Does she have a true weapon? Yeah, she does. Okay. Allies arts, demon allies stats. That's really great. It's actually solid. 100 arts at the start of the quest. It's pretty good. Get her to her, what, true art? Super art? Yeah, true art faster. Yeah, I'd definitely pick this up, especially considering it's demon allies stats, but there's one equip I want to check real quick. I believe it's Rimuru his coat. Holy, why are there so many equips for him? His mantle. Yeah, okay, so a lot of people actually use this on Mono Demon Dark as well, kind of like Narbarrel's headdress, to use it like a heal. So this should actually, yeah, this is stackable, because if it's a dark unit, the max HP for the team goes up 30%. So you can run this alongside this, and maybe if you want to be overkill, Lisa Skirt. But like, that's going to make your team pretty healthy in terms of HP, considering there's not a solid, you know, kind of healer right now that I don't think of for Mono Demon Dark, yeah. So increasing stats up is going to be your way of healing the team. But yeah, just in general, she's helping dark teams, specifically Demon Dark. So while, yes, she is team specific, I think on that team she works really great. You're going to be running him, definitely. Who else could you use? Obviously, I mentioned him before. Rimuru. There he is. Him, just for his damage. And then it's a little harder for the 4th unit. Because you could run... Would you do Diablo for damage resist and arts? I mean, you could. Ainz is also solid as well. This is more of an OG kind of Mono Demon Dark team because he's giving arts gauge, lowering crit, resist, as well as that damage or crit damage up for dark allies. He's just pretty good, but yeah, maybe that's the team. Yeah, you get the idea. I don't want to spend forever on this. Yeah, well, moving on to number 2, I guess. Unsurprisingly, I'm gonna be putting Orvel, at least 6-star Orvel here. He's a light god. Insane slots. That defense slot low-key might be the move, especially considering Monolight loves defense slots. But moving on to the rest of his kit, 30 arts and skill, whatever. Arts gives him 30 arts as well, but then he also increases his max attack by 50% each time it's used, up to 300%. And here's a quick little lesson for anybody who might not know it, but there is a such thing in the game as kind of plateaued damage, you know, in terms of how much damage you get after how much attack you get. So I believe the same buff and damage you get from 0% to 100% attack is literally not even the same from then 100% to 300%. Like, this is insane overkill. The only time this would be worth using is on units that increase their damage based on their attack, but he doesn't have that. So even, I mean, I'd probably use this like 2 times tops, 3 times if you're really feeling lucky. But past that, the effects of attack up kind of plateau. So while, you know, 100% attack might increase his damage by, I don't know, 100%, let's just say. I don't know how much it is to be sure. 100% to 150 is only then like 20%, you know what I mean? So maybe use this like 3 or 2 times. Anyways, his True Arts increases ally stats and gives everyone defense ignore. That's really great, I'm not gonna lie. It's a general stats up buff, so that's really great. It kind of could act as a heal, but even, you know, in this endgame content, having high stats is really great. Defense Ignore is, of course, really great as well. But then his super arts. Am I geeking or... Oh, yeah, here it is. I don't know why they put it before. So it does 200,000 damage. Really great. And then for 25 seconds, his first equip gets replaced with Super EX Grand Verge. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with what, this does, but it's similar to Fire Orifel and Light Sistina, where this first equip then switches to this. And it has a 6-second CT, increases all allies' arts by 20 with a 20,000 damage modifier. This is really great because not only is it giving arts gauge, it's also giving BE output, and if you run him alongside an equip CT buffer such as Star God Liza, who you're probably going to run him with anyways because they're both light units, this will be you could probably get this to around 3 to 4 a second. Or 3 to 4 second CT, yeah, if I can say that right. So you're going to be popping quite a bit of these, and this is going to be doing a lot of damage when you're popping out so many. His passives, he gets up to 320% damage for each light ally, which honestly is probably going to be what you do with him, considering mono light is going to work so well. You know what I mean? Star God Liza to buff him in terms of equip CT, literally just that, and light damage up. So then he gets 80% damage from her. You can probably do literally anybody else. It doesn't matter. But then also for each fire ally, he gets 4 arts a second, up to 12 a second. You're probably not going to make full use of this considering you're not going to really run him on a mono fire team. I mean, you could. Actually, the really cool thing about him is that he can kind of be ran anywhere. You know what I mean? He's doing DPS, actually unironically, a lot of DPS, especially if you run him on a light team. But then also providing arts gauge. So he's basically kind of like an art gener. But then the BE output from each time this pops. Great slots, you know what I mean? And then let's look at his true weapon real quick. So the thing with this as well is if you put this on him, it'll actually be replaced if you use his super art. So be careful unless you want to get his LB7 so that he can use it and use something else here, but still be able to use his true weapon, but it's not really worth it for this. But anyways, he reduces damage resist by 20%, and when above 80% HP, it's 35%. It's okay. I mean, it being tied to light is kind of crazy considering it's already kind of a debuff for, it to be above 80% HP. But then it's only 35%, and Richelieu's Bikini has been basically around this level for years. But whatever. It also gives him 50% damage and flinch resist. So, I mean, I guess you're going to want to run it on him just for that sole fact. You know what I mean? But just in general, I kind of put him here even though his kit is kind of basic. I mean, it's obviously really great, but it's kind of basic. But I like basic, you know what I mean? If you can put him anywhere, that's good to me. Because he can act as your DPS. He can act as your art gener. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to kind of rely on him for art gen, especially without an equip CT buffer. But he could do something. But you're probably not going to be, relying on him solely. But regardless, and then great slots, defense slot for survivability. He's just pretty good. Is he insane? Is he pity-worthy? I wouldn't necessarily say... Oh, sorry. That was a hiccup. I wouldn't necessarily say so. Yeah, no, not really. I would see people... Oh yeah, also this as well. I don't know why I didn't mention this. This is really great. Increasing everyone's crit resist is really strong, especially in endgame content where bosses crit on you. Trust me, you don't want to be crit on by bosses. And this is actually really strong. I don't think... Yeah, it's not tied to a leader skill, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, he's number 2 solely because of the fact that he's very basic, but he's versatile enough. But not necessarily versatility as much as the fact that I kind of just feel like while, yes, he can go on any team, he's not shining as much as I feel like for the anniversary unit he should be. I believe he was the anniversary unit. I don't quote me on that, but I believe so. But yeah, he's just really cool. I like his kit. It's really unique. Does a lot of damage. Can't go wrong. But yeah, let's move on to number 1 though. Unsurprisingly, coming in at number 1 is gonna be Young Emperor. He's a light human, already starting off great. 3 5-star slots. You know I love to see a 5-star defense. As if that wasn't enough, he has a 5-star support on LB7. Would I recommend you get this? Maybe. I think that defense slot is low-key better because in terms of mono light, what you're gonna be running for support slots is gonna either be like Narbarrel's headdress to increase stats up, Liza's skirt, or just like damage buffing. But it's mostly gonna be stuff to keep your stats up so that your team doesn't die, so it can act as like a heal of sorts. But the defense slot kind of does that already, you know what I mean? I'd say it's more worth it if his defense slot was LB7. As for the other 6-star Emperor, his LB7 for the support slot is great because this is a physical slot, and that's kind of not really anything. So, yeah, anyways, moving on to his skill, he gets 30 arts or 100 if it's used within the first 90 seconds of the quest. Really great. That's actually really strong. For 20 seconds on his arts, everyone gets stats up and reduces enemies' evasion rate. That's pretty good as well. You get that kind of little heal of sorts. I don't think Mono Light kind of has a good source of stats up. At least a strong source. You know, meta source. So that's really good. His True Arts reduces enemies' damage resist by 50%. This is interesting. Okay, so this looks like what you'd want if you're kind of running him as a DPS. Because don't get me wrong, this is really great. That's a long debuff, and 50% super crit rate for that long is really strong. But here's where I'm kind of iffy. 50% isn't really that much, especially if you're running him on a mono light with the other Emperor. Can we see Ascended? What's his name? Is it Islid, bro? Or whatever you call it? Yeah. Bro, who is that, bro? If you're running him alongside Emperor, this 6-star Emperor, he already does 60% just based on True Art. But then additionally, it goes up to 120%. So it doesn't really make sense to use this since you'd be working against yourself if it overrides the other buff. This is nice, but if only if you're running him as a, you know, DPS, which, I mean, maybe you could, but would I recommend it? I don't know. I don't know, especially if this is working against you, but whatever, let me move on. His super arts, he gives everyone 50 arts for 45 seconds, increases light allies, damage by 150%, which is stackable. And within the first 90 seconds of the quest, it's an additional 50% for allies. Which, I mean, this is insane. This is the one reason I'd say don't use your True Arts, because you want to spam this as much as possible. This is an instant burst of 50 arts. What that means is that if you run him alongside this Emperor, you can use them both together because this is type B arts gen over time, 80 arts. While this is a burst, so it's going to work together, as well as providing a light ally buff, 200%. I mean, within the first 90 seconds, of course, but that's still regardless. This can last 45 seconds, up to 90 seconds for the total buff. But even after that 90 seconds, it's still 150%. That's like Jay providing his amount of damage before the entire team. I think everybody knows how strong this is. They know how strong this is just in general for light teams, because if you pop this like 4 times, damn, that's like 800%. That's not even impossible, especially on Mono Light that already has a bunch of arts gauge. Hold up, water break. On Mono Light, which has a bunch of arts gen, either through Freerin, Emperor, or, you know, now this, he's going to be popping this a lot. Low key, I could see 5 stacks. Definitely. Especially if you're using this skill, it'll give him 100 arts, and then he can instantly pop straight back into this. That's crazy. 1000% damage? Could you imagine 1000% damage? And this is solely from him alone. You don't even need to worry about him not stacking with other units. That's actually, wow. Reading over his kid, now I kind of want him. Wow, that's really great. Yeah, well, let me continue real quick. Everybody gets 30 arts at the start of the battle. He gets 100% crit rate, which is, I guess, kind of making sense for his true arts. And magic resist, whatever. This is really great to kind of get your team up and running. This is good if you want to run him as a DPS. And here's the thing, with Mono Light, there are certainly committed DPS, but there seems to be so much general buffing that it ends up becoming that the entire team becomes a DPS. Because if you're giving 1000% light damage to the team, this is going to do a lot of damage, especially compared, or if you're adding, you know, Star God Lisa's super art, BF Emperor's 120% debuff, as well as him doing damage on his super art, especially paired with his true weapon. Like, you're going to be doing so much. Let's check his true weapon real quick, though, speaking of. He doesn't have multiple true weapons, but he does have this. That's whatever. He does get 70% physical damage and 1 arts a second. And here's the interesting part about it. He gets 20 arts from it, and it refreshes his equip CT per battle. So what this means is, I believe once you use this, the next wave, it should refresh, not after you use it. Which is really great, especially considering it doesn't need to just be on him to use this. So you're probably going to see this in nukes everywhere. So definitely pick it up, even if not for him. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, I don't even think I'd see myself using this on him anyways. Because, yes, that's a lot of physical damage. But here's the thing. Only his art and true art, like this Emperor, is physical damage. His highest source of damage is going to be his super arts, which is magic, which is kind of tough. So honestly, you don't even really need his true weapon. And that 1 arts a second, it's not even gonna make a difference if you could just run something else here. You could literally run anything. It's funny because this might be the first time where somebody's true weapon might be better on somebody that's not him. But or no, it's not the first time. There's a lot of equips like that, but like first time in a while anyways. But just in general, he's gonna be great for Mono Light. He's gonna be just kind of tearing up stages, especially within the first minute and a half. Afterwards, he's still, of course, going to be amazing. Don't get me wrong. That's still 150% stackable damage. You add that to Emperor, maybe let's just say Freerin, because I'm currently glazing her hard. You know, her 400% damage buff, which stacks with his, because it's a stackable, obviously, as well as a bunch of arts gauge, huge stats up, defense slot, stats up from a support slot, equip, Star God Lisa. Let me show you her so you can kind of, oh wait, equip CT from her, magic damage, you know what I mean, magic resist down, type G arts shen. Oh my goodness, bro, I kind of need him now, I'm not even gonna lie. Wow. Okay, well, yeah, that's kind of why I think he's great. I don't think there's really anybody who thought he wasn't good, but yeah, he's my #1 unit you should save for. I wouldn't really hate if you pitied him. I'd actually suggest it only for Mono Light, though, because this super art becomes useless if it's not on Mono Light. I mean, it literally only increases light allies. I don't think anybody understands how OP this would be if this was general damage that was stackable. He could literally be used on any team and be so overpowered. it could break the game, actually. I do want to see a unit like that eventually, where you just kind of have to pay to get it. But yeah, whatever. That's about it for the video, though. I don't want this to go on to an hour because, yeah. And it's only been 5 units, really? It's funny how it's longer than my videos where there's 10 units. But, that's really everything for the video. Those are my top 5. Him being number 1, and I only think he's really the only one that's worth pitying out of those 5. Those other 5 or 4 or 5, whatever, if you want to include the honorable mention, are units you should probably spend not more than a 50, but potentially ALK for. You know what I mean? Like if they have the 5 or the 10k ALKs, definitely worth it to spend it for them. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below if there's anyone you're hyped to get, or a crossover unit you want that might not necessarily be meta, but you're saving up for them. I'm really hyped for him, obviously. But let me know if there's anyone I should take off the list. Maybe I should add on someone I should be more hyped for. Or yeah, any of that stuff. Thank you guys for watching the video. Be sure to like and sub for more, and I'll see you guys later.